This now, President Cyril Ramaphosa delivers the State of the Nation address tomorrow. Trade Union Federation Cosatu is a member of the tripartite alliance led by the ANC, and it plays a critical role in the formation of the governing party's policies. Now, to find out what the Trade Union Federation expects from this speech, we're joined by Cosatu's Parliamentary Co-ordinator, Matthew Parks, from our Cape Town studios. And Mr. Parks joins me now. Matthew Parks, thank you for joining us. Talk to us about your expectations of what is likely to come out of the President's speech tomorrow.
Thank you for having us. Look, as Cosatu, we've got basically 4 key areas we want to hear positive news, concrete plans, targets and timeframes from the President tomorrow. Number 1 is that we have an economy which is very fragile. We are threatened with going back to recession. We have 1 out of 3 workers unemployed. Thousands of workers are being retrenched every month across all sectors of the economy. We had a very good job summit last year, but yet we've not seen government and business implement those progressive commitments. We want to hear a concrete plan from the government around protecting vulnerable jobs, creating new jobs, growing new sectors of the economy. It's not a task that can just be left to the Department of Trade and Industry, but it's a task that must be given to all departments, premiers, mayors, SOEs, etc. That for us is the number 1 issue. We also expect to hear from the President concrete plans to step up the fight against corruption and wasteful expenditure. He's done good work so far in appointing new leadership in that sector. We've seen 1 MEC for finance go to prison already, but we want to see more persons being dealt with and the money that they stole recovered. We also hope to hear from the President plans to save our state-owned enterprises, in particular ESCOM, SABC, SAA, etc. He has made positive commitments about not retrenching workers, but we need to hear real plans about stabilizing those SOEs, stopping the bleeding, and ways to get them back on the healthy track that they used to be on not so long ago.
On the last point, okay. Go on.
Go ahead.
All right, let me touch then.
The last thing.
All right, let me take the bite. Let's go on the last point that you made on SOEs. You're saying that you've been reassured that there won't be any job losses, but in the main, there has to be stability at these SOEs. A critical one at this stage, of course, as everyone knows, is ESCOM. How reassured are you that there's not going to be job losses there amid talk that that institution is bloated, but also at the same time, how assured are you that there isn't an implosion on the cards in as far as SAA is concerned?
Look, we're very worried on both fronts, especially about ESCOM. ESCOM, in particular, because its debt levels are 450 billion rand and growing, threatens not just ESCOM's survival, but even the state and the entire economy. We were pleased that the President and the Minister of Public Enterprises, Pravin Gordhan, both committed to us and publicly that no workers would be retrenched. Pravin Gordhan, in fact, said if there's a surplus of ESCOM workers at generation, they could be redeployed to redistribution or transmission lines at ESCOM or even municipalities. But until we see a concrete plan put in place at ESCOM, we won't be relaxed, we won't be assured, because it's still very worrying. The fact that there's a stage or possibility that staff may not even be paid salaries in a few months down the road. Equally, SABC and SAA are extremely concerning, that they are basically living hand to mouth, incurring new debt just to survive, and clearly that's not sustainable. There really needs to be a clear, concrete action plan. SAA is quite worrying because we saw the new CEO trying to stabilize the ship, started to make some positive changes, and then he left. So it really shows us there's a concern around a lack of leadership in these SOEs. We really don't have much more time to discuss and debate issues. We have to see a concrete plan by tomorrow and the next few days to stabilize them.
On the issue of the fight against corruption, how far do you expect the President to go? Perhaps let me be more direct. Would you expect, for example, the President to include in his speech the mess that we are seeing currently in KZN play itself out, where you have people, supporters of a mayor that is accused of corruption, that is currently on leave of absence? They're marching not just to the city, but to the party's provincial headquarters there, demanding that she be reinstated. Would you expect the President to address that issue head-on if he is to be taken seriously on corruption?
Look, the president has to address it head on, but not just the president, the cabinet, the provincial leadership, for example, in KZN, and across the country. The corruption has not just been at the cabinet level, but it's been in provincial governments, which is hardly touched upon. It's been at the local levels. In municipalities, you have supply chain processes which are basically running amok. People are just cooking up invoices and quotations and paying each other. So we really need to see an intensification of the fight against corruption. There has been some good work in uncovering the rot, as you've seen in the State Capture Commission, the PIC Commission of Inquiry. And the figures amounts that have been quoted there are in the hundreds of billions of rands. So we really need to see some action by government at all levels, from national to provincial to local to SOEs, in recovering those monies.
Mr. Parks, let me take this opportunity because of time, and let me ask you a direct question. What is Cosatu's position on Zandile Gumede, the mayor of eThekwini? I spoke at some point to your union there, SAMU, and they said they would actually agree with the sentiment that says that city should be placed under administration because of the mess that it is in under the stewardship of Ms. Gumede. What is Cosatu's stance in as far as her position there is concerned?
We would agree with SAMU wholeheartedly. The allegations of corruption at eThekwini are very serious. The behavior, the factionalism, and in fact the violence that have been seen there in Durban and other parts of KZN are extremely worrying. But look, our stance is a principled one. If persons have been accused of serious corruption or misgovernance or other allegations, they must step aside. They must not seek to bring down government and the ANC and the entire country with them. They must step aside, go to court, clean their reputation. We simply cannot afford, given the damage we've experienced as a nation over the past 9 years, continue to nurse the feelings of a few egos of a few politicians who really seek to bring the entire nation with them. When politicians steal, they do not act upon a mandate of the ANC or the nation. They steal for themselves, and they must deal with it by themselves. So we would agree with SAMU that not just the mayor, but in fact the municipal manager and other persons implicated in Durban must also be dealt with quickly.
Just as a final point, Mr. Parks, has come inside Cosatu. You were asked to intervene by your affiliates at SATAWU. We know the plunder that has gone on inside that union. Now there is a new report stating that 65 million rand of orphaned children who belong to workers who have died working in the mines, that money is siphoned through that union's investment arm. Perhaps the direct question to you would be, what are your expectations of law enforcement in as far as Zenzo Mahlangu being extradited from wherever he is? We understand that he's a Zimbabwean national, of course having obtained that citizenship of South Africa fraudulently. Would you support law enforcement extraditing him to come to South Africa to face the music here?
Yes, we would support that 100%. That money that was stolen must be recovered. We're quite pleased that SATAWU, which had significant problems, as we now have realized, worked with us to establish a new leadership, went to Congress last year. We were quite pleased that they didn't seek to hide behind the bush. They conducted a forensic audit into all their investments. So now we are now seeing what has been stolen there. And they must go the next step, which is to lay the charges with the police and the NPA and seek to recover that money through the court processes and even through civil claims. We would definitely be happy if they can seek to, working through government, get an extradition of Mahlangu and recover that stolen money. These are workers' monies. Workers entrust that money to the unions. That's their pension money. It's the worst thing that someone has stolen from workers.
Thank you very much, Matthew Parks. By the way, do you know the whereabouts of Zenzo Mahlangu at this point?
It's a bit of a mystery, but what we've been told is that he's in Zimbabwe. And look, Zimbabwe is not far away. It cannot be difficult for us to request Zimbabwe to do an extradition of him to face justice in South Africa.
Matthew Parks, thank you very much.